Hi guys, Alex McCarthy here from Talk Wrestling on Talk Sport, and I'm delighted to be joined today by WWE Hall of Famer Jeff Jarrett. How are you?
Hello, sir. How are we doing?
Great. Oh, and you got the ring and everything.
There we go.
Sensational. Yeah. What brings you to London, my friend? Do you love it here? How many times have you been?
Oh, since 92, 93, so quite a few times. As you know, long career over here, so too many to count. But no, I'm here. It's actually two-pronged account. I'm here to promote, basically promote BT, What a New Home, Channel 5, which is super exciting in so many ways. And then I'm here on business. I'm working with all live events. We're the largest touring company in the world, over 500 last year. So a lot going on. We've got a tour coming up in South Africa into May, and obviously the tour here in Europe, as well as specifically in the United Kingdom with the SmackDown crew.
You come to us in May as well, don't you?
Yes.
Very busy period for WWE. Let's talk about you and coming back to WWE and that magical return that caught us all by surprise. How did the first call happen? Because I understand that the year prior WWE maybe helped you out with some personal stuff, and is that kind of the gateway of how it happened?
We talk about the Hall of Fame or the Royal Rumble?
A bit of both. Why not?
Yeah, well, so yes, dark. Went through a dark period of my life, and not to digress and get into that, but an amazing set of circumstances. As I reflect, might have turned out to be the best time of my life, or the start of it. But the Hall of Fame came the first Sunday in 2018. I've sort of told this story a couple of times. I get the call and
the call.
and I thought it was a joke. I'm like, what? And then I called Road Dogg, and he definitely thought I was joking because he didn't know, and I'm asking him to induct. And then that happened, and then we just sort of went our separate ways, so to speak, and I carried on with my life. Obviously, I'm a lifer in this business. My family's been in it since 1946. I again went along, and then it was inside of 2 weeks of last year's Royal Rumble, or 2000. So that would have been 19.
19, right?
I can remember the call saying, "You realize this is not this Sunday, but next." Oh yeah, we know. So it went from that to, hey, do you want to hang around? And then real quick, me and Vince came to an agreement, and all of WWE, I'll say that. And I can sit here and tell you this, that I would have never dreamed or thought, because I'm an entrepreneur at heart, at spirit. I'm a promoter. But for me to be a part of this organization and how big it is now, for me, my father, the territorial days, and then obviously I was with both organizations. Just the offices, London, Mexico, Japan, they're all over the world. The headquarters in Stamford, the network, 3 or 4 reality shows going on at one time. The partnership right here with BT. I mean, you cannot say enough about. I've been a fan of the British scene, the independent scene for 15 years at least. Knew there was a lot of talent, but to see the NXT UK guys come up in a PC performance center here, and then we're on free to air on Saturday mornings. There's so much going on. It's as you can tell, I'm pretty excited to be a part of it.
It is an amazing time for us in the UK with all the opportunities that we've been given, and now we've got free to air for the first time in maybe 20 years.
Yes,
you know what I mean. It's all happened very fast, really, but it's been cultivating with the scene that we've got here.
Absolutely.
And I think you've got history of tapping into that scene when your days in TNA and Rockstar Spud and people of that nature.
Exactly.
So it's fair to say that you've been a fan for a while.
I mean, you said it. I have been a fan of the British scene for a while. I mean, back in the Doncaster days, we won't get, but I mean, I could remember coming over and the fans and how authentic's not just one word, but they were so ingrained in the product and knew every word to every theme song and the autograph sessions and as we rolled along and then the talent, England, as or UK in its entirety, is still not that big a country.
No, it's not as big as Texas.
So to produce that much talent here in this relatively small country, is amazing. But it goes with, I'll just say it goes with the territory. Again, we're not far from Royal Albert Hall where I'm staying. And so I performed there in 93 or 94. And to look back on those years that, where our ex-broadcaster, we were on week in, week out. We've been in this, now we have moms and dads bring their kids, and the moms and dads grew up on the product.
Exactly, yeah.
So there is second and third generation WWE fans. And so now these stars of NXT UK, they grew up on the WWE. And now you're seeing, and we're getting to be a part of it. We're on the network every week, NXT UK. We're seeing, I guess you could say, the fruits of everyone's labor.
Yeah. When you did come back, and I remember after you was inducted to the Hall of Fame and you briefly worked with Elias, right? Would it be fair to speculate that that was something that you personally wanted to do and pitched?
I did not pitch. No, I was shocked. No, I mean, again, we were inside of 2 weeks, and they said, "You want to come back for Royal Rumble?" I had no idea, and then that transpired in the Royal Rumble, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're going to Raw tomorrow," and I said, "Yeah."
That was a good spot, by the way.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I loved it. But no, nobody, specifically, no one within the organization said we're going to have this at the Rumble, and we're going to do this the following Monday, and then the following Monday we're going to do this. I think it was 3 weeks. That was organic. I think that everyone involved heard the great folks of Phoenix give old Double J a rousing applause, and the chemistry that me and Elias instantly had. That's sort of what was the development, if you will, of the next few weeks on Raw that we got to have, and a lot of fun. Who would have thought Double J would have been not just on Raw, but wrestling on Raw?
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that I was, I'm 31 years old, so that was the late 90s was like prime for me in wrestling, right? So I was a fan, Intercontinental Champion days, all of that stuff. And then, of course, abruptly, I didn't read dirt sheets or anything then, and then you're gone.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, and obviously you hear all these stories about how you and Vince had this money, all of this stuff, right? How was that for you then in that period, feeling that you had to make the jump back to WCW? Because of course you went on to be world champion and all these things, right? And then when he buys WCW and he does that whole Jeff Jarrett segment, GOOM, whatever it was, right? How was that for you? And did you think at that point, oh man, that door's probably closed for me?
No, and I've answered this question multiple times. I had the and people, and I've discussed it and talked about it. Being a second and third generation, I've always had really an advantage. I've always looked at it from a business perspective.
Yes. That
when he could have taken anybody and he picked me to do a segment on. To tell the story that they bought the competition, GONNE. He could have picked anybody, so it fit the spelling of the name. That was sort of from the television perspective. From a contractual point of view, I knew that my contract, that was in March, I knew I was going to be paid close to the end of the year, so there wasn't really a quote-unquote set of circumstances for me to go to Raw next week or the next month. It was going to be quite some time.
Right.
So I really didn't give it a second thought, and then that sort of gave me that summer to sit back and look at the landscape on what are the possibilities. And I knew immediately without a number two, there is no such thing as a number one.
Exactly.
So there was a huge void in the marketplace that people in this generation, because I've been asked a lot that since I've come back, what made the decision for you to do that? And I said, it was a set of, you're 31, so you can relate. There was a time when they bought the competition that it was like, okay, it's over.
That's it, yeah.
and that's hard to describe, but that's really, nowadays, look at everything going on. Japan, Mexico, and we can all watch it on our phone, let alone every other organization. But then internally with us, NXT UK, Raw, SmackDown, 4 or 5 reality shows.
5 is
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's endless.
So going back to 99 quickly, what was the deal breaker there that made you want to go in, and was it as I want to say confrontational as people have been led to believe down the years?
Here's what everybody sort of misses, the real crux of the story is that I was a talent in '99, and quote unquote, I held Vince up for money. Is that what you're alluding to?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the story that,
Okay.
that obviously goes.
But when you really drill that down and you really think about this, if you've ever, people can and some can't relate to it, employee, employer. If he didn't want to pay me, he didn't have to pay me a cent. And what was I going to do? Go sue him? He could tie me up in court, not for months, for years.
Yeah.
I would have spent all the money I was owed and then some, had he chosen not to pay me.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, and to this day, and the conversations, look, I tried, and that was my whole point. Let's make it easy for everybody. Pay me everything that you've owed me in the past, because at that time, it was
like bonuses and stuff.
There was bonuses,
right.
And there was October, and I was owed for September, August, July, probably June, and I think we did a pay-per-view over here, Rebellion. So I had a lot of money in the pipeline coming.
Yeah.
I said, let's approximate on the payoffs. I've got all these house show runs that I was on. Let's come up with a number, and let me get out of your hair. And I'm obviously not re-signing the offer, and that's a whole nother set of circumstances. Yeah. You go your way and I go my way, and it made it easy on everybody.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's talk about what you're doing in the company now. I've read different things of being like production or creative. Talk to us about what your actual sort of day-to-day role is beyond obviously the stuff that you've talked about.
Yeah, I mean, that's what to me, and again, I'm very appreciative for the Hall of Fame ring. But that is in the rearview mirror, and I've always been a look forward kind of guy. And now, when I came back last year, I was at every Raw, I was at every SmackDown, all the pay-per-views, all that, and it's sort of July, August, September. During those months, I started migrating a little bit more and a little bit more over to live events.
Right.
The component of it, and at its very core, WrestleMania is a live event.
Right. Yeah. A big one.
Yeah, an enormous one. But the big four: Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, SummerSlam. They're live event at its core. And then you get into Raw and SmackDown, and obviously, you can keep going down. We have our network specials, and then we have our non-televised. So live events is the backbone of the company, and I'm working sort of in all facets of it: routing, booking, the marketing side of it, radio, TV, print, just a little bit of everything. And man, I've got a passion for it. That's actually the genesis of me coming over here. Yesterday, I was at the offices here in London all day, and we had a couple of fantastic meetings. So that's my day-to-day grind, if you will, is the live events.
That's what I like to hear. Good meetings in the UK. But is that kind of a job that ticks all the boxes, I guess? Because to me, you seem, and just going on your track record, creating TNA and doing all these things, Global Force 2, you seem irrepressibly creative to me. Does that fulfill that part of your life too?
Without question, because again, it goes to different facets, but Raw and SmackDown is a television show, and there's a Raw team, there's a SmackDown team.
Yeah.
Obviously, they come together on pay-per-views, but when you then you get into a non-televised, if you will. There's a different set of circumstances. So when you talk about checking the boxes, there's a creative aspect to everything we do.
Of course. Yeah.
The way things are presented, the integrations in different live events, the presentation, the when the music's played, how it's played, backstage interviews. There's a little bit of creativity. So yes, it absolutely checks the box.
And since you've come back, it's like a new generation of superstars, right?
Yes, there is.
For you, from your own perspective, some you've worked with, some you haven't before. Who has been, really impressive to you, or you've really enjoyed working with, I guess?
Wow, I mean, that's a long list.
Yeah, of course.
And I tell guys that, and again, you could, Roman, I've known his family for years, the Usos, again. So have I worked directly with the Usos before this go around? No, but I've worked with their fathers. So there's a lot of that. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe.
A little bit of history there.
A little bit of history there. But Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, I'm fans of those guys, watching them before they got to the WWE. So there's Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler. I mean, I could go on and on. A guy like King Corbin. I watched him as a guy that in NXT that he has a innate smugness about him that you can't teach.
No.
So again, I'm a fan. Before I was a wrestler, before I was a promoter, I was a fan. So I enjoy the industry and talent and all that. And I keep trying to tell the guys, you've got an opportunity like no profession, no generations had before, because with the social media, you can talk to your audience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I don't have per se any favorites, but I've got a lot of guys that I enjoy working with.
When you look at how TNA has kind of morphed into Impact now, and it's your brainchild, right? Do you ever look at that and kind of do you still feel attachment to it?
Yeah, I mean, that's funny you ask that, but especially when I look back on it today, the TNA that I remember with most fondness, it was from 2002 really to about 2009.
Yeah.
It morphed into the six-sided ring went away. Certain decisions were made internally. We know how those ended up, the results of it, and so it has no longer been. In 2017, going back, I found out real quick. I enjoyed my time there. It wasn't anywhere close to the same organization that was built. But to me, it's a organization that is still existing. But that's an amazing in and of itself. But man, the depth of the companies around the world. I worked with AAA from 2003 or 4.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And I've got a lot of affinity for that organization because they lost Antonio, their founder. And Dorian and his team, they've continued. So it's really cool to see the different organizations. I worked closely with New Japan and brought Wrestle Kingdom 9 to light in America. And it's really cool just to see the different organizations. Some go up, some go down, but it's the business. That's the industry.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's wrestling for you right there. We sit here and I see the Hall of Fame ring. Keeps catching my eye, man.
There you go.
Who do you think, you've obviously been a peer with so many greats, who do you think should be in that Hall of Fame? To me, obviously in my heart, and I know this would be dear to you, is obviously Owen Hart, and I understand the reasons of why that probably won't transpire anytime soon. But do you have any thoughts on that, or anyone else that you think?
You would have to give me a list, because I've been asked that. Who do you think should be in that isn't in? It's really hard to drill that down. Owen, he's in my Hall of Fame, and I, like you just said, I understand both sides of that. To this day, it's very emotional. I cannot put myself in Martha's shoes, or anybody who lived through that. We can only know what we went through at the time. But his in-ring talent was special. His position in this industry is special. But it to me, when I think of Owen, my thoughts completely transpire this industry. Although me and Owen both were raised in this business, both of our fathers promoted and wrestled, so we had a real deep connection there. But the man he was, the human being, the integrity, that transpires any Hall of Fame.
Is that some of the most fun you had tagging with Owen?
Without question.
It looked it on TV. It looked it.
And that's something that, quite frankly, the in-ring part of the job, at times, it did. It came very easy to both of us, especially at that stage of our career. We were still young enough that we could bounce and fly over the ring, whatever need. Didn't give too much thought into it. But the entertaining aspect that I know that I would sometimes make Owen smile with my Double J stuff or whatever it is, and then he would make me smile with his idiosyncrasies and nuances and completely just his game faces. I'll say that. It was a lot of fun.
I agree with you in the sense that I guess it would just be nice if he was there, but he doesn't have to. Everyone still remembers Owen Hart.
He's in everybody's Hall of Fame in the heart.
Exactly that. What about a guy like the British Bulldog?
Davey. I worked with Davey at in the 90s for WWE, and then at WCW. And the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Well, let me say this: the tag partner of Dynamite. That during that time, during that generation, Davey was such a standout in that tag team. And again, that was the late 80s, and there were a lot of big guys. and not quite as athletic. Davey was super athletic in the late 80s. He stood out. I can remember, just breaking in. I broke in '86, but watching Davey Boy and just being, wow, that guy's huge and he's super athletic. And I loved his accent back then, but no, Davey left us way too soon.
Yeah. People loving the Manchester accent. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, exactly.
So a man who's done pretty much everything there is to do in the industry. In closing here, what excites you moving forward now?
Exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
In that, part of yesterday's meeting was localizing all the live events. We've got Germany, Spain, South Africa, Japan, Australia, all the different markets around the world, and we're talking about localizing the events and giving it that personal flavor and stuff like that. Not just that, but getting in, rolling up our sleeves, and when we come to a market, we want to make sure that everybody, from the time they walk in, if the show starts at, let's say, 7:30, well, the doors open around 6.
Right.
From the time you walk in at 6, from the time you leave, we want you to be immersed in an experience of WWE. And that's what we're going to raise our game to. That's what we're in the process of doing. That's what makes me tick right now.
Good. Well, I can't tell you enough much I've enjoyed picking your brain today, Jeff.
I appreciate you having me.
Great. So thanks to my good friend Jeff Jarrett here, and keep it locked with TalkSport.